The last first reading ordinance that is on the agenda for the 28th is being sponsored by Councilman Corker, and it pertains to alcohol impact area.
I think most of the council has received the outline of the impact area, which is in the West Central area. I think this will be the third alcohol impact area proposal that has come to the council. I think the council is aware of the conditions that provide the environment, and there will be a period of time in which the monitoring will take place, but this has a very strong support of the West Central neighborhood, and it's for your consideration for next week.
I've got no problem with it, except I'm having a hard time. I'm not the best map reader, and I'm going down these boundaries as delineated, so could next week we actually have a
outline of the map?
Outline of the map on the screen.
I'll make sure that there's a little clearer definition of it.
Very good.
Councilwoman Waldreth.
Councilman Corker, thanks for bringing this forward. Do you, and I'm not aware, I'm sorry, maybe you discussed it in the Public Safety Committee, the new recently passed initiative regarding liquor sales in Washington State. Would that have any impact in the future on our alcohol impact areas that we've established here at the city?
That's a good question.
I've actually done some research on that.
And I would, go ahead.
As you know, former State Senator Chris Marr is on the Liquor Control Board. And I've had folks from the alcohol impact area that we passed this summer contact me with concerns about how 1183 is going to impact that area. And I got an email from Karen McCall, who's working on the kind of the emergency rulemaking that they're doing to implement 1183. And this is specifically what she says. She says 1183 doesn't affect local authorities' ability to add spirit products to their banned product lists if they find particular products are becoming the drink of choice for chronic inebriants. They can request revisions to the banned product list quarterly. I think there's the possibility that we might be seeing some very low-cost, high-alcohol products that aren't malt liquor coming into some of these areas. The tricky part for us, though, is that trade area is very ill-defined in 1183. So while there aren't any large grocery stores in this
yet
in the West Central area, it could be some licensees that may be able to take advantage of this very vague trade area clause. Ms. McCall said they are actively seeking input at the Liquor Control Board about how to do rulemaking and interpretation of the trade area, because that could be a loophole that would allow stores smaller than 10,000 square feet to carry high alcohol products.
And there is anticipated within Kendall Yards a large retail food outlet.
At some point, but they're also anticipating like a neighborhood grocery, I think,
and
before.
That would be a major outlet that would be impacted by the new law. There are two small grocery stores currently in the West Central neighborhood on Boone, and they've been advised of it. I think one is very supportive, the other has raised questions or concerns, but it did not deter the recommendation coming out of the neighborhood council.
Bob?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some interesting questions that come up because the initiative actually restricts the size of the store to be able to sell hard liquor. And I don't know whether that'll apply through to alcohol in the form of wines and beers in a fortified nature. We don't know yet. In fact, we're not going to know until we see how this gets vetted through the various committees of the legislature and the liquor board. Compound that. There won't be a state control over distribution of hard alcohol, and how that applies then to beer and wine will also change. So trying to restrict from a wholesaler standpoint will also become a major question as to how that would occur, and something that will have to be addressed by either the legislature or the Liquor Control Board as well. So those are really gray areas, and if they don't adjust or make or take some action, I would think that it's going to be almost impossible.
Richard?
Every previous alcohol impact area that has come before this council came up on the radar fairly early, and this packet was the first time I had seen it. So it seems kind of sudden, and I wondered if it has had the vetting process that the other alcohol impact areas have had.
It has in the neighborhood, and it was delayed coming to the council because of the medical leave of the officer in charge of the program that actually deferred presentation to the council for almost 2 months.
Well, I guess my initial concern is that we're looking at trying to develop Kindle Yards, and certainly any supermarket that comes into Kindle Yards is going to be looking for the bottom line, essentially making it pencil out for them to locate there. And you could have some interesting effects in pushing a supermarket out of this area and into one of those that isn't covered by the alcohol impact area, and may delay a grocery coming into that area.
My understanding that representatives from Kindle Yard participated in the discussions and supported the recommendation.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Well, the other question is, you've got Monroe in there, and that's another odd one, is that the west side of Monroe seems to be in the impact area and the east side does not, which usually when you do an impact area like this, you want to cover, if you're going to do any part of a corridor, you do the whole corridor.
I would take advice of Counselor for a minute, I think.
Well, part of the general provision of the alcohol impact area ordinance for all of them is that the dividing line, in this case Monroe, will include properties facing on both sides of the street. And that's a request from the Liquor Control Board. So it's not spelled out in this. Well, actually, I think it is. If you look at the...
I thought that it was on both sides of the street, but...
It's not clear from the map.
Well, if you look at on page 4 of the ordinance, under B at the very bottom, the boundaries shall include properties located on both sides of the public right-of-way that constitute the boundaries. So generally, the math will go down the dividing line of Monroe. We could certainly talk to our GIS folks about trying to develop a map that might show that a little bit clearer.
Okay. Yeah, when they started with the property description, they kind of lost me. I did not make it to number 4, so thank you for that clarity.
Yeah, that's what we're going to need in a very specific graphic presentation of the boundaries. In other words, if it's going to be on both sides of a street, it needs to show that. So who do we...
I'll take care of it.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.